The views expressed and the opinions given by the individual host and their guests do not necessarily reflect those of Para-X, its affiliates, or its sponsors.
Supernatural, metaphysical, paranormal. You know, all those things you've been wondering about? Are you ready to go deeper into the realms of the unknown? I hope you've got your walking shoes on, because life is an adventure, and this is the journey. Come on, let's go.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Wednesday night's The Journey radio show. Oh, hey, we're showing up as the She-Squatchers again. I'm Jen Cruz, your host, and I've got my trusty teammate on the line, Jena Grover. Are you there? She's waving.
Yes, I am. And I finally got this whole mute button. I think I've got it figured out. Hello, everybody. I'm so glad everybody tuned in tonight. I'm so excited for our guest tonight. I have not seen her for a very long time, so I can't wait.
I think it's been since October since we've seen Gwendolynn Guthrie in person. We met her down in I think we were in Kentucky at CryptidCon last September. Is that right? She's shaking her head at me. Yes, it is. We do so many events, it's hard to keep track of who we meet and where, in what state were we at what event. I had that one right, though, so yay me. But yay, we're the She-Squatchers. We're showing up to talk about Bigfoot, cryptids, and other paranormal things with Gwendolynn Guthrie tonight. Let me tell you just a little bit about her. At the age of 12, Gwendolynn Guthrie was unwillingly thrown into a life of spiritual chaos. She had to learn how to overcome the fear and confusion of spirits and influences of negative entities. These numerous paranormal occurrences that still follow her today have driven her to seek answers of her own while reaching out to help and guide those who struggle with the paranormal unknown. Gwendolynn has spent more than 15 years investigating the paranormal, recently teaming up with cryptid researchers to expand her research into the cryptid field. She co-founded the multi-focus team called Uncharted Para-Cryptid Studies. Gwendolynn works to bring new and innovative ways of investigating all aspects of unexplained phenomena and unknown creatures. So, without further delay, let's bring Gwendolynn on the line. Hey, Gwendolynn, are you there?
I am. Hello.
Hi.
Hey, girly girl.
Hello.
We're so excited to have you on tonight and hear what you've been up to and your research and all that. So,
yeah,
let's get started. I'm sure everybody's going to want to know, what is this that happened that got you thrown into spiritual chaos? Do you share that story, or do you sum it up, or do you just say no?
I can sum up the gist of it. When I was about 12 years old, I had a paranormal experience that involved a living cat. I feel like this cat managed to wake something in me. It's hard to explain, and it's going to sound really outrageous, but this wasn't an ordinary cat. This cat into my soul, and I felt it. And it was my own personal cat that I'd gotten when I was a kid. We only had it for a couple weeks. And one day I come out of the bathroom and I looked at the cat, and the cat looked different. And I looked into the cat's eyes, and his iris got really big, and it was like time slowed down. And I didn't know it at the time, but that cat opened up a whole wide range of paranormal activity. And I was diagnosed with seizures, and I guess I suffered from them pretty commonly. And they weren't your typical shaking seizure, the what do they call those, grandma? And after that incident, those seizures went away. I never suffered another one. So that to me just shows that that feeling that I felt when that cat looked into my eyes was validated just by the fact that I never suffered another seizure after that.
That's
Oh.
incredible. Well, and isn't
And
there? Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
okay. Well, after that night, that's when I started getting the prophetic dreams. I started having activity. It was just I call it a paranormal explosion. And from then on, I've always dealt with a spirit since I was 12.
Very interesting. So Kat is in the chat room, and Jenna, you're making lots of noise.
I'm so sorry. I was so excited to write down my questions.
Kat is in the chat room, and she's asking, or she's saying, someone else had a familiar. Are you familiar with that? A familiar?
I am now. I didn't know at the time, but I have a psychic medium friend who gave me the rundown and told me no matter what I say, it was my familiar.
Awesome. So for the listeners who don't know what a familiar is, would you like to fill them in on kind of what that is?
A familiar is basically like a spirit guide. It can be considered a magical guide. It's something that assists you in your magical journey or your spiritual journey. It could be in the form of a cat. It could be in the form of any animal. They're mostly cats and owls.
Very cool. And I'm just going to say, just to clarify, Jenna, your kitty is not a familiar. She is psycho.
No, she is Jason's kitty. She loves Jason, and I think only Jason. Now, Tammy and Jen have both met my cat, and unfortunately, she's just crazy. She got her daddy's good looks and her mama's bad attitude, and I'm sure she's not the only one out there. But speaking of cats, that's why I got so excited, and I had to write it down so I didn't forget. But I was going to ask you guys, haven't you guys heard of cats being able, or animals being able to absorb some of your issues so it's not so hard on you? Have you guys ever heard of that?
I have not heard of that. I've heard of them being a type of protection against negative entities, but I haven't heard of them being able to absorb negative emotion. But it makes sense, because those are both negative things that they can help prevent in a way.
Awesome. Yeah, very cool. Very cool. So that's what happened with you. And then you started experiencing more spiritual things and more spiritual awarenesses. What kinds of things did you experience?
Well, the first experience I dealt with was 2 nights after the incident. I had a prophetic dream. I woke up and all I seen all around the room was red and blue lights. And I immediately knew that somebody that I considered my grandpa, he wasn't my real grandpa, but I called him grandpa, that he had passed. And I begged my mom to go around the building and go check on his apartment. And it took me a minute to convince her, but she finally went outside and walked down the walkway. And I crept and snuck behind her so I could see. And sure enough, there was an ambulance below his apartment. And I didn't find out until 2 days later that he had passed that night because the family was trying to get everything together.
I do have a question on that too, girl. When you talk about, you said it came to light 2 days from the day that you had it. See, I have prophetic dreams too like that, and it's always 2 days. And that's why I'm wondering, with you, do you have that same time allotment for when you have a dream, a prophetic dream?
You know what?
Vision?
I connected it. I can't be exact, but just thinking back, it's always been around 2 days, maybe 3, but it always seems like it's around that 2-day mark that it tends to happen.
Okay, thank you. I was just curious because, and Jen, what happens with you? Is there a specific timeline? I should know this.
For my prophetic stuff, I don't generally have it as dream form anymore. I grew into waking visions. So I don't necessarily have them as dreams anymore. I have them as a vision. It's never maybe it was just a dream, because it's never just a dream. I'm awake.
Yeah.
And I actually see it. So the visions that I've had, you were there when about the Standing Rock vision. It was 5 days before it happened, but there were literally a ton of Indian spirits that piled into our tent and showed me this stuff. And then 5 days later it happened. And then, but they didn't have any people there that had awaking visions. They only had dreamers there, and we didn't know that. So, so I was describing a weapon that I didn't understand what it was. It was up on top of something, and it swiveled, and it sprayed out this large spray of some kind of weapon, and I didn't know what that weapon was. But it was water. It was a water cannon. I'd never seen such a thing. And I'm like, they're attacking the people with this. I don't know what it is. And I called it the swivel weapon, and I described it. And, you know, I told them what was going to, you know, this was going to happen, and they were going to be provoked and not to react to it, or a bunch of people would be seriously hurt. So, and they listened. So that was good. But, so that was 5 days, but I think that was more because that's when the spirits got through to me. And I saw something happen to a friend of mine the day that it was going to happen that night, and I told her not to go, and she went anyway. So sometimes it's the day of, sometimes it's in the moment, like you're not supposed to leave right now, and then they leave anyway, and they get T-boned in their car. You know, things like that. I didn't know they were going to be T-boned. I'm like, you're not supposed to leave, just stay 5 minutes, and then they didn't listen, and they left anyway. Yeah, stuff like that. But I used to have it as dreams. But I never pinned down like how much in advance it was when I was just dreaming. So yeah.
See, when I dream, it's always those 2 days. And when I have visions, sometimes when it's a vision from somebody's giving me information, like to give someone else like a message, it doesn't happen. You know, that's something different. But sometimes I'll get a vision and it's like, oh man, it's going to happen right now. So that's what I'm exploring right now. I would love to find out how people have been using their abilities, and to find out the different times and what happens, and when you do see visions, are these visions coming true now, or you know, are they coming to pass? You know, it's just like when you see a picture of a car accident, you're going, oh man, like Jen always says, she says, well, I wouldn't leave the house. So if she gets a vision of a car accident, but you know, I've been there.
I had a vision where I was already driving, and I had a vision that I was going to be in an accident. So I pulled over, and I just went inside of McDonald's, and I waited, and I was like, all right, I'm looking for a sign when it's okay to leave. And I saw somebody's car license plate that said 1111. And I was like, all right, I can leave now. So
man,
I pulled right over. I pulled over immediately.
So do you experience these things too then? I mean, do you experience the visions,
Me?
Yes, I'm sorry. I feel like I'm looking at you, but you can't see me look at you. Sorry.
I experience both dreams and visions. And when I experience a vision, it comes in flashes and it's really fast. It's a split second. I can watch like a whole day's worth of events in like a nanosecond. It just hits me so fast, more like it's a memory versus something I've lived.
Yes. Yes. That's what I saw before the car accident. And then I was like, nope, it's not going to happen. But guess what? I called Jen that day and said, okay, which comes first, chicken or the egg, the vision or what happens? You know, sorry, go on, because I'm really interested in this.
So most of mine are in dreams, but I do have the flashes of visions. And I've had visions about even of that will affect other people. I was riding in the car one evening, and as I was coming up to a red light, I saw all these flashes of events go through my head. It was like I watched a whole month's worth of events in no time. And I remember the guy in my vision, he had red hair, and there was something that was going to happen to him. And as I pulled into McDonald's, we got the car, and there's the guy with the red hair. And I kept thinking to myself, should I go to him? Should I talk to him? You know, what if everything that I've seen isn't going to happen? But then again, if it does, I could help him. So I ended up going up to him. I said, look, you're going to think I'm crazy, but here's what happened. And he just looked dumbfounded. At first, like his eyes were real big, but as soon as I got done, I thought he was going to think I was nuts. But he gave me a big hug and he thanked me. And he told me that, you know, he will take my advice into account and start really paying attention to things. And I don't know if I should talk about what I seen because it wasn't my life event that was going to happen. So just out of respect for him, you know, I don't know if anything came to pass, but you know, because I didn't know the guy. It was just weird how I didn't have any connection to this person. I still had a vision of him before I even got close to him.
That's awesome. Isn't it?
That's pretty confirming of your gift. If you've never even seen the guy before, you have a vision and there he is after you have a vision of him. So.
Right. And they say that your brain can't make up a face. Your brain will only see faces it's seen in the past. So in that circumstance, if I've already seen this guy's face, I've never seen him in real life, that is also confirmation.
Very true. Very true. Love that. Good information.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. So this kind of thing led you into the paranormal how?
It was more the spiritual stuff that I was experiencing. I was experiencing a lot of stuff getting thrown around the house. That was more the majority of it. And every now and then we would see a shadow person. And it was when my mom seen me walking in the living room when I was actually outside, and I heard her yell at me to bring the stuff into the kitchen and not to leave my stuff on the living room floor, that I walked in the house and she watched me walk in the house and she said, no, you just went upstairs. And she freaked out. And then that's when prior to that incident, it was really hard for me because I didn't have anybody to talk to about it because she didn't believe me. She thought I was just being paranoid. But when all the poltergeist stuff started, she started to have questions. And then she experienced that. And that's when I finally knew that she was somebody I could go to because she experienced it firsthand.
Very cool. Very cool. Yeah. So when did you start doing paranormal research, like looking into hauntings and things like that?
When I was about 13, my friend and I, we would go out to these quote unquote haunted places. These are basically just places that have that myth, that legend behind them, that there's probably no truth to these places at all. But we would go to these places, and this was back in the early 90s. And I'm showing my age when I say that. But basically, your ghost hunting tool then was a pad of notebook paper and a pen and your experiences. That was your tools. So that's what we did. We would just go out, we would research at the library, and we would do that. But it grew from there, and I never got away from it. I would take breaks based on really serious events or my children being young. But it's always been like that since I was about 13. Even when I was 13, we were being funny, we were being goofy, we were doing goofy stuff, but we were learning.
So did you have a lot of people that you could talk to with some similar gifts? Because I know it makes such a big difference, especially when you're trying to have them grow, just to be around other people with gifts.
No, I came from a very religious background. Any kind of gift like that was not a gift that was prized. It was a gift that was to be feared. And I really didn't have anybody to go to. Majority who I had to go to was my friends, and it was only select. I think there was 2 of them that I could go to talk about it. Anybody else would look at you like you were crazy. And when you're young and you're in that stage of life, your early teens, you just turned into a teenager, you're going through all these hormonal changes, and then this kind of stuff erupts. You're struggling with how to deal with all that at once, and then to try to find somebody that you can go to, be it a friend or family member, that's hard enough too. So it was like this whole cluster of events that happened all at once that just threw me into chaos.
So when did you start openly talking about your, what you see and what you're doing?
I would talk to people here and there. I would get to know them first to get a feel for them, to find out how they would react before I would ever say anything. But then about a year and a half ago, I went on to a paranormal podcast called Where Did the Road Go with Soraya Azkath. And he spoke with me and he told me, he basically helped me open up to the whole thing. And that's basically what made me come out into the open. I always explored the paranormal. I always was researching it, but that's when I really started doing it openly. So I have a lot of years of experience in doing it, but it's all been kind of in the closet.
I completely understand. Like everything you're saying, I'm like, You and I are so much alike. Oh my gosh, that's so crazy. And all of your experiences and when you started coming out, to talk about it, I should say, talk about the experiences that you have. And yeah, it makes so much of a difference having someone there who will listen. I had two friends too. So everybody knew, like in high school, that I was into ghosts and spirits, but I never talked about this kind of stuff with them. Maybe a little bit, but only those two people. So, and they know who they are. So if you're listening, hello.
We talk about
really
it like, yeah. We talk about it like, I always say I came out of the psychic closet because I was hiding it so hard. I was hiding it, trying to be normal and fit in for most of my life. And I finally embraced it in my 30s and just let it blossom into what it has become. And boy, that was a ride. It's a lot better than trying to make it go away.
Oh yeah,
so, definitely.
Yeah,
because it doesn't go away.
Right, and you get to a point in life where you mature to the point where you just stop caring what everybody else says, and you just start being honest with yourself and everybody around you. And the people who aren't okay with that will find a way to remove themselves from your life. And those kind of people are the people that you don't really need to begin with.
I agree 100%. Yeah. And the ones that are there for you truly, because, you keep in contact and they have good hearts. My gosh, we can see it, So what's your favorite experience that's happened to you over like in the past few years?
My favorite, I have so many experiences. Probably my favorite was after he's not my real dad, but I called him dad. He was there for me a lot. And he passed away probably about 10 years ago now. But soon after he passed away, my mom moved out of the house that they shared together. And I moved in and took over the mortgage. And one day I was just sitting on my bed in my bedroom, and there was a bathroom off to the left from my bed. And I had some company over, and we were all kind of hanging out around my bed. And all of a sudden, I don't know what, it looked like a solid mist. It was more than just a mist. It was more solid than that. Came out of the bathroom and slowly swirled and moved through the air as it moved through the bedroom. And we're all looking at this. There was probably about 4 of us total in that bedroom. We're all watching this mist move through the bedroom. And they were like, what do you think it is? And I said, I really just have this feeling it's my dad. And it moved, as soon as I said that, it slowly swirled and moved through the air closer to me. And it didn't. Normally, mist will eventually tend to break up and spread out and fade away. This stayed really solid and just swirled through the air. And it came over right next to me, and I leaned into it and I smelled it. And it smelled like my dad. And I immediately went into tears. And they said after it did that, it just faded. It vanished just so quickly. And my favorite experience because it was so personal. It actually meant a lot to me to know that he
Wow.
was still and he was still watching over us and he was there.
And you have all your friends to say, "Oh my gosh, she's not lying. I saw it too." So how
Yeah.
awesome. You're so lucky.
And you know what's funny is that 3 out of the 4 people that was there with me were just baffled. But there was one person that was there. And this goes to show you that no matter what happens, some people just won't believe. There was one person that was there that just wrote it off and just had any excuse for it. And I'm thinking in my head, how can you deny what you just witnessed? But no, they had any excuse that they could give, they would give it. And I'm not sure if that's because they were afraid to accept it because it was so blatantly in their face, or if it's because they were just too skeptical and too blind to even want to admit what they just witnessed.
Some people are so scared that they put something else over it and say, well, it was this. It had to have been.
Exactly. Yeah.
My box won't let anything like that happen.
Yeah. So, I mean, you'll get those people out there in any field that you research, whether it be UFOs, cryptids, paranormal, fairies, goblins, anything you research, you're going to get people that are going to just deny no matter what you present to them.
Oh, yes.
Those are the people I just sit back and I wish and I hope and I wish with all my might that all the strange woo-ness and paranormalness goes for them. They have the most amazing experience so that they can't be like that anymore. That's what I just wish on those people so hard.
You really just have a really profound experience that's personal to them so they can't deny it anymore.
Right. Yes. I'm like, okay, Bigfoot, go get him.
And Bigfoot says, okay, Jen, we're buds, right? No, I'm kidding. But hopefully one day we will be buds. You know what I mean? I can't wait. I can't wait till the day that someone, whether it be us or someone in the Bigfoot world, finds Bigfoot and finds some wonderful proof. But speaking of Bigfoot, do you ever do anything with Bigfoot?
I do.
He has people with him every Wednesday. Just kidding.
With my
took me a minute,
work
Jen,
schedule, right? With my intense work schedule, it's really hard to get out anymore. So a lot of what I do is just quick trips to the woods just to walk around and see if I can see anything. And even that has produced some really cool results. I mean, I got a really nice footprint. Unfortunately, I wasn't prepared and I couldn't cast it, but I got a lot of pictures and some video of it. So I do get to go out and do things as far as hiking and just walking around. I have had a really profound Bigfoot experience that I'm not going to say I was on the fence with Bigfoot, but I had a lot of unanswered questions. And then I had my own personal experience. Sorry, it's going to get loud for a minute. I'm outside. But I had my own experience. I was out in the woods in Kentucky on a mountain with some friends. And I'm pretty sure you guys have heard this before, but we took a couple people with us, and a couple of those people had to walk away.
Gwendolynn, I'm going to pause you right there, and we're going to go to a commercial break while we're having our noise outside. So just hang on, everybody. We'll be back in 2 minutes after this commercial break. Thank you.
Good thought.
Yeah, I have to be outside because I have dogs.
Oh, yeah.
We had interviewed someone with a cat that was so wildly loud. Like this cat was like, the minute he got on and started talking.
It was Alex Bob. You know Alex, don't you?
So, poor guy.
Yeah, I have 3 dogs, and they're relatively quiet for the most part, but I never know when they're all going to erupt in a chorus of insane barking.
Yeah.
So,
for sure.
I was like, I hear cars going by every now and then, but I'm going to try my best to keep it quiet.
Well, you sound awesome. You sound like a veteran at this, so.
Thank you.
Good job.
So is there any questions that you want us to ask while we're on break? We can hear it.
No, nothing in particular. I mean, I have a whole list of experiences I could talk about, or investigative tools or how I investigate. I mean, just whatever you guys want to ask, it's fine with me. I mean, I can talk about whatever.
Okay, gotcha. Let's listen for Sarge.
Yeah. I like my hand around since I'm holding it with my hand the whole time.
Oh yeah.
Ten. And roll.
Welcome back to the show, everyone. I'm Jen Cruz, your host of the Journey Radio Show. When we are not live on the air, you can find us at thejourneyradioshow.com. And hey, we're the She-Squatchers. Check us out online at SheSquatchers.com. And at the top of the page there, you can find links to our Facebook page. Please come and like us there, because that's where you're going to find all of our most up-to-date postings of what's happening in the moment on that day and coming up. You're going to find it all right there on Facebook. So please like and follow us there. Also, you can find on our YouTube channel as She-Squatchers Official, and sometimes we might upload our video show later on to our YouTube channel so you can see what's going on behind the scenes if that's available. So you might want to check that out at She-Squatchers Official. So tonight we've got an awesome special guest with us. We've got Gwendolynn Guthrie, and she's coming to us to talk about her research and experiences with the paranormal and with cryptids, looking into Bigfoot and other unknown creatures that of course, that's our favorite subject. So she's also gifted and obviously showing the psychic potentials here. So, of course, we're going to probably touch on that quite a bit because everyone on my team is a psychic medium. If you didn't know that, now you do. So, so here we are. Let's bring Gwendolynn back on. She was going to tell us a story. So please pick up with your story, Gwendolynn. We're sitting on the edge of our seat.
All right. Well, I was going to finish my story about how I became a solid Bigfoot believer. We were out on a mountain in Kentucky, and we had went up there with quite a few people just to do a quick hike and look for signs of Bigfoot. And about midway through the hike, several of the people that we came with decided that they were going to head back down, and that left us with myself and two other individuals. So we were going to finish our hike, and by the time we got up to the outlook, it was getting to be sunset. We realized we weren't prepared to be out there in the dark. I didn't have any flashlights. Michael Cook was with me. He didn't have any flashlights. And then a friend of his was with us. But he had two dim headlamps and a little broken flashlight. So that was our navigation back down the mountain, because we had come about 45, 50 minutes up the mountain, and we had about 20 minutes worth of daylight left, but we were heading back into the woods, so it gets darker when you head into the woods. So we went ahead and headed back down at that point. And on the way down, we kept hearing things around us, loud footsteps, things that sounded like it was sliding off the rocks. We just heard all this activity around us. So we were really trying to rush to at least get off the steepest mountainous part of the trail. And by the time we reached an almost flat spot, we decided to stop and listen for if we could hear anything. So Michael did a couple loud whoops, and he did a tree knock. We did hear things moving closer to us, but we didn't hear any vocalizations. So that's when he asked me to do a whoop. So I did my little tiny half whoop, and we got a response. We got a tree knock. So eventually we started having about 6 creatures, what we believe were creatures, closing in around us. And at that point, Michael thought it would be best for us to start heading out because we could tell we had them behind us. We had them in front of us, off to the side of us. We could tell by their footsteps. It was just crunch, 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 crunch all around us. And it was fall, but you could tell the acorns dropping sound or the leaves settling sound to the loud, flat-footed walk. So we tried to head the rest of the way out, and as soon as Michael grabbed my arm, we heard doosh, 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 3 loud stomps. It was like 3 to 5 loud stomps coming right at us as soon as he touched my arm. So immediately I ducked down and I look at him and my eyes are just huge, my mouth's hanging open. And I'm thinking in my head, this just happened. I just heard this. So he looked at me, he said, it's time to go. And it's time to go now. I'm like, yeah, I think that's a good idea now.
Oh,
So we finished walking out. And as we were walking out, we could hear that they were following us. We could hear them trailing us as we were moving out. And it was odd because the way that they were positioned everywhere around us, including behind us, except for in front of us. And me personally, I feel like they were corralling us out. It was their moment. It was their time. It was nighttime. They needed that time to do what they wanted to do. And the loud stomping that we heard came from behind us, prevented us from going back up the mountain. They wanted us gone. So we got down to almost where the bottom was, and we stopped to talk. He said, what do you guys think? And we were like, oh my God, that was insane. The other gentleman that was with us, he was white as a sheet. He was scared. He's still, when he talks about it, he talks about it in a way that a person with PTSD would talk about it. He starts sweating. He starts getting clammy. I mean, he was truly frightened. And so we're just all standing there talking at what we think is far enough out. And we hear this loud bang. And it came from the shelter off the trail. And we're like, okay. So then we hear another loud bang. And that's when we knew we weren't far enough out yet. So we continued to go on down. And as soon as we hit, like, I felt like it was an invisible barrier. I felt myself leave their area. I felt when every heaviness of all the emotions, the aggravation, the anger of us being there, I felt when I was out of that space. And as soon as we crossed that line, we heard this real low, long whoop come from off to our right. And then we heard another one that was up on another ridge up higher. And then we heard another one that was up on another ridge up even higher. It's going to get loud for a second. And then it started back down to the bottom again. And then it kept going up, 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 back down to the bottom, up, and just all these continuous whoops until finally there was so many whoops, you couldn't even tell where all they were coming from. I can't even count how many. I know at least 12 to 15, maybe even 25 different vocalizations we were hearing coming from all over this mountainside. And it was like their war cry. It was them saying that they had won. We were gone. It was their moment. It was their time.
That is so great. What a story. Sorry, continue.
Well, that was just the moment where you can't deny an experience like that. And it sounds, I don't know if it sounds as intense as it actually was for me to experience it. I'm not a great storyteller, but it was just this intense, exciting emotion. And I was hooked from then on. I was addicted.
That is like one of the great stories that I can put up that I've heard. That is a wonderful story. In fact, oh man, to be a fly on your shoulder. Oh, that would have been awesome.
And it was
that's
funny.
when you
Go ahead.
That's when you really hope that there was some audio recording going on. You didn't have any of that stuff? You did?
Well, here's the thing. We thought we did. We were taking, I forgot my audio recorder at the hotel. So we decided we were going to do a YouTube live so that if anything happened, we knew that at least what was already there and what was already recorded was going to stay there. So we did the YouTube live, and as we were doing this, I didn't realize it at the time, but we had somebody trying to comment on our video that it was starting to mess up. And we didn't know it. So we went through this 59-minute experience, got down to the car. We're like, we got all that on camera. We got all that on video. We were so excited. And Michael wanted to take video with his too, but like a secondary video, but his battery got zapped. So we just had my phone. So we were doing the YouTube live on my phone. So as soon as I went to process the video, it said that YouTube has crashed. And I'm like, no, 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 no. My heart sank. My stomach immediately got upset. Like, please don't let it be gone. Please don't let it be gone. He's like, it'll be fine. Michael says, it'll be fine. Let's just go. You know, we've obviously upset these things. Let's get out of their space for the night. Because what we wanted to do was we wanted to go back and have another good experience. And we didn't want to ruin our experience, or what, I don't even know the word I'm looking for, the rapport that we'd already built with them. We didn't want to ruin that by staying too long. We wanted to be able to have another experience in that location. So he wanted to leave, and I'm like, okay, so it's still trying to process. I'm still trying to get it to work, and I'm fooling with it, and finally it processes. I'm like, oh my God, I got so excited. And I played it, and when it was counting down the time, you know, you played 1 minute out of so much, 2 minutes out of so much, thinking, wait a minute, this only says it's 9 minutes long. We only got 9 minutes saved out of that 59-minute experience that we had.
I am so sorry.
I wanted to cry. And still to this day, like, it's such an emotional thing, because I'm like, we had the best evidence at that night, and it was all gone. But in that 9 minutes that did get saved, you can hear a growl off in the distance, and you can see the person that was with us react to that.
Oh,
So
nice.
at least but in my experience, and from what I've learned with Bigfoot, there seems to be some sort of frequency that Bigfoot seems to emit. And I know that a lot of people won't admit this, especially if they're more in the flesh and blood belief. Bigfoot tends to emit this frequency that can zap your batteries, can mess with your cameras, and it seems as if it messed with my 4G capabilities. It was heart-wrenching, that moment when I realized it was gone.
This is why no one can get evidence. I mean, it's the batteries being zapped. It's the not pulling your camera out in time. It's the camera is not working right. I mean, this is crazy.
What's interesting is, you know, that big structure that we found in Minnesota. Jena had a GoPro camera on her forehead taking video, and she had a really nice, expensive camera that she's carrying with her while she went inside of the structure and showed everything about the structure, all the weaving and the roofing, and how that was weaved together. And it was just amazing. I couldn't wait to see it. But what was interesting is all of my equipment worked. All of hers was blurry. And the video on her GoPro stopped taking video, and it only started taking pictures every once in a while. And they were all blurry. Mm-hmm. But all of her camera equipment that she was using, all of it malfunctioned and gave us nothing that we could use.
So
and she's the one who went inside of it.
Yes, Jena went inside, or what is it? Jena goes inside. Jen. But no.
When you went in there, did you feel like there was a change in your environment? Did you feel any kind of energy?
I felt excitement, and I think that was my own excitement. I didn't feel anything being given to me as far as gift-wise. I didn't think the energy was all that. It felt very normal, like it's supposed to feel. Does that make sense? Like it's supposed to feel.
The next time we went back out there, we went out there at night, and it was dark. Well, the sun went down when we were there, and all of our equipment went dead at once. I mean, and we're talking we had some really serious flashlights that could light up the woods. You only have to charge them every 6 months, and they had just been charged, and that got sucked out. And the guide that we had with us, because we were on a reservation, so we needed to have a tribal member with us. walked back to the car and went back to the car. And because his flashlight died and his cameras died too, and he was coming back, then the brand new flashlight that he was bringing back was dying as soon as he got close to us. It was starting to go out. So I mean, it was very, very strange. Very strange.
Now,
And
if that's not the will-o-wisp.
Oh, you mean the Strange Lights video from our YouTube channel? Tell us about what you think about that, because we gave Gwendolynn permission to use that in one of her presentations as an example of the strange lights when we were looking for Bigfoot in an area that someone had reported seeing Bigfoot walking. We went to look and we weren't allowed to go out there because it was on a marshy bog, and the landowner thought that it would be dangerous for us to walk out there because we could potentially fall through the bog and drown. So we went out there late at night, parked on the road when we felt that there would be no traffic and nobody caring that we were sitting on the road, looking out with Jena has a really awesome unocular device that can see in the dark really far away. And so I'm looking just with my natural eyes. Jenna's using the unocular, and we're just kind of seeing if we can see any Bigfoot back there. And instead, we start seeing these weird lights. And I'm like, Jena, can you see that with the camera? So what did you think about that?
Well, I asked to use your video for a presentation that I did because I started noticing a connection with Bigfoot and these floating lights. These floating lights have many names. They're called will-o-wisp, fairy lights, ignis fatuus. That's actually where the jack-o'-lantern came from, was these floating lights. The story behind the jack-o'-lantern. And there seems to be a connection with these floating lights and Bigfoot locations. And which it seems like there's a crossover in paranormal activity and Bigfoot in general. But I wanted to really focus on these lights. And I did a lot of research, and I know that scientists want to explain them away as floating gas balls that have found a way to self-erupt and free float in midair until they burst and then they're gone. Well, that's a little outlandish to me, because what kind of chemicals would you have to have in order to have something that self-erupts and then somehow finds a way to stay in a solid form long enough to be able to float around? They also, as far as I know, haven't been able to recreate these floating light balls in a like a laboratory setting. So their theory falls short in the fact that it can't be recreated. And they also can't explain away that there seems to be a sort of interaction, an intelligence behind these lights, because just about every story I've ever heard of them, they seem like they have an intelligent way of moving. As you get close to them, they move away, or if you get too close, they fly up into the air and then they disappear. So there's an intelligence behind these lights that, even though scientists think they have the answer, it doesn't explain it. These, according to scientists, they're gases that collect within marshy bogs due to like rotting vegetation and decay. But when you can't recreate in a laboratory setting, I feel like your theory doesn't mean much when, especially there's an intelligence behind it.
Well,
Okay.
You're so informed, huh?
We lost you for a second.
Oh, I said you're so informed. I just love hearing you speak. You know, I love hearing Jen speak too. She speaks so intelligently and I just love listening to good speakers. So I listen, I don't speak all that much. But anyway, I was going to ask you, as far as the lights we saw, and Jen told you, did she tell you about how there was a Bigfoot sighting over there? Previously to when we saw the lights. Okay, not only that, I don't know if she mentioned to you, but every time I would turn my camera, my unocular, over to the right, everything on the right was blurry. And I showed Jen that too. I said, I don't understand this. I said, every time I've turned it over to the right, I said, all the trees are blurry. It's almost like there's a cover over it or something. It was the weirdest thing. So what do you think about that?
But there's more.
Well,
there's more. There's more. There is more.
Okay.
Because when we looked at satellite imagery of that location from above, that area that was blurry when she looked at it was also blurry on the satellite imagery.
Wow. Now
Yeah.
Tell
that's
me.
amazing.
Yeah. And how much do you want to make a bet? It's probably not like that now. You know what I mean?
I think you're probably right. And that to me is more surprising than your monocular being blurry, because that doesn't make sense. Now, your monocular being blurry, based on what I've learned with the frequencies that it seems Bigfoot can emit to mess up electronics, that wouldn't really fit that description if it's coming from a satellite that's not even in our it's too far away, you know.
Mhm.
So that's really curious.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty interesting myself. And yeah, because I mean, when you see something like that, you got to share it. So, you know, you don't tell people about it. They can see it themselves. I love going out there. Our team has so much fun. We explore everything we can. And I would love to have you come out there someday with us just to hang out and go see what we can find. Spiritually,
Yeah.
Bigfootly. I made that word up. Thank you very much. I should write dictionaries.
The new you should write your own dictionary.
Yeah, Jena dictionary. Jena talk. Talk Jena with Jena. I'm kidding. It'd be terribly long.
Yes,
I
it
would.
would.
I would.
But at the, some of the normally don't tell that whole story of the strange lights. We normally don't, but I will tell you the end of that story. When Jenna turned off the camera and we were fixing to leave, we had been sitting there. The car window was open. The car was turned off for a long time. And I don't even know how long we were sitting there, but we were sitting there for a long time. We took many different videos of that area as we were scoping it out. How long do you think we were there, Jenna?
Oh gosh. At least an hour. I'd say at least an hour to two, don't you think?
Okay. Yeah, it was a long time. We were staking it out, looking for Bigfoot there. Now, when Jenna turned off the camera, and I said, "All right, we should probably get going soon." She turned off the camera, and all of a sudden, a flash of light came at the car. It was like flash of light, lit up the car, and then the car turned on, off, like the lights in the car turned on, off, on, off by themselves. And the car had been off for at least an hour or two. And then that happened at that flashlight. I'm like, all right, we're leaving. We're going right now.
That is amazing. Wow. So you said the lights turned on, off, correct? Or the car?
The inside car lights, and they
all the
made
different lights inside the car, like all the different, like up here, over here, back here. Yeah, it wasn't just one. That's why we're so curious, because I thought Jen did it. Like right away, I was like, okay, why'd she do that? That's weird. And then I said, she mentioned, she goes, that was weird. And I said, you didn't do that? We have this on audio tape, and this might, you may want to do this too. I'm so excited about this, because a lot of the cameras that we work with don't have any audio. They have only video. So I ended up purchasing, it's like a ghost. It's supposed to, it's a watch, and this watch is like a little recorder, and it gives a time, and you can just record so much on this recorder. So during our investigations, I'll wear that watch. I'll wear it wherever we go. So no matter where we go, if something happens, we've got it right on there. Like I'm still looking for that cat sound, Jen, but we do have that on audio when those lights turned on and off.
I'm curious, what did the light that flew at the car look like, and how close did it get to the car?
It was a flash of light. Like it was so fast. It was like bright white light, bright white light, and then
from it, you couldn't see it free floating. It kind of came from everywhere.
Yeah, it was just suddenly just a flash of light at the car, and it was outside of the car, and then
anything?
What's that?
No missing time. No. That's
missing
really
time.
interesting.
Well, I guess we didn't look at the time, but
Yeah.
I didn't feel like I missed any time. But hey, maybe we came back a week later. We don't know.
No, I would have known. I would have been in trouble.
That would have explained a lot with Jena. That would have explained a lot.
Actually, it would. And you know who I'm talking about.
I do.
It really, seriously, it would explain a lot. Do you ever feel like you can't be human? I'm just teasing.
No, it was a fun time. It was a fun time. So,
Gosh,
what do you think that was? With all that information, what kind of thing do you think that was, Gwendolyn?
I've heard of. It seems like I've heard a lot about UFOs and Bigfoot seemingly being connected, just like the Will-O-Wisp being connected with Bigfoot. Maybe I don't know if you guys are follow that type of thing, but maybe you had a UFO experience. You never know.
You're right. You just never know. And we don't have the information to support anything, but we can say how we felt. I didn't feel any emotional. I didn't feel like the energy was coming from beings. So I don't know if it was spirit or not. I don't know if it was, it could have been aliens checking us out.
We don't even know what a UFO experience really entails. Does it even entail beings? Or is it just like a spiritual experience, a spiritual awakening of sorts that manifests in a UFO experience? Who knows?
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
We don't know. And here's the thing. A lot of people talk about the Bigfoot woo. And I always tell them, you don't necessarily have to be into Bigfoot woo. Woo happens. It just happens to you. And you're not out. We were there looking for Bigfoot. We're always out there looking for Bigfoot. And what we found that night were these weird lights. In the place where Bigfoot had been spotted and reported to us during the daytime. So, we were there looking for Bigfoot and woo happened. And it's not imaginary because we got it on video. So
yeah, that's
you can
amazing.
Find it on the YouTube channel. Yeah, we have 1 minute left of the show. Okay, Gwendolyn, can you please tell everybody where they can find you online so they can follow your journey with you?
Absolutely. You can find my group, Uncharted Para-Cryptid Studies, on Facebook. That's Para-Cryptid Studies, Uncharted Para-Cryptid Studies. And that's really the only place that we post a lot of our stuff, just because it's easier, it's simple. And although we like to get our evidence out there and our experiences out there, we're more about investigating part of it. Some of the stuff.
Awesome. Thank you so much for coming on the show tonight. And thanks for tuning in, everybody. We'll see you next week on the Journey Radio Show. Good night, everyone.
Good night. Thank you so much. It was so fun.
Thank you.